Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's now 6:07 this Friday morning, 1 hour down, 3 hours to go on our morning extravaganza, getting you where you need to go with all the information you need. Hopefully a smile on your face. That's where Patrice Onwuka comes in. I'm a cranky old dude, but Patrice, she's effervescent. She's, look at you. What a darling.
I'm bubbly. I love this. This is just me.
Coming up in 30 minutes. And she's wearing pink, too, by the way. Everyone should know.
Pink cheetah print.
The signature color. It is. That is a cheetah print. It's 6:35. Dan Schneider, MRC. Talking about defunding PBS. 7:05, Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. 7:35, Reagan Reese of the Daily Caller. And 8:05, Mark Hemingway, writing. Well, he writes all over the place. Federalist, Real Clear Politics, wherever the hell he wants. He's Mark freaking Hemingway. I am Larry O'Connor. That's Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
Amen. And welcome back from vacation. So now while you were on vacation, were you staying up on the news because the Epstein thing sort of blew up, right?
How could I miss it? I mean, yes, I did see the Epstein stuff. It's crazy.
Last night, late Sunday night, as y'all know by now, but we'll just give you a quick update. Axios releases a letter they'd obtained, which, again, there's a red flag for me right there that Axios gets this leaked to them. Why Axios? And who's leaking this stuff? The letter then was confirmed and put out Monday morning. It was put out by two agencies, the FBI and the DOJ. Both of them had their letterhead. You know, here's how things work in Washington, D.C. When you see two agencies both having their name on an official statement, there's only two reasons for that. One of two reasons.
Okay.
That both agencies want credit for it and they want to be celebrated, or the one agency that really would be responsible for putting this out didn't want all of the blame. So they're like, hey, we're not going down alone on this.
Okay.
Don't throw us down the toilet. And I think it's the latter in this case, that it was DOJ and FBI. Because here's another interesting thing about this letter. There's no signature on it. Nobody's name is on this letter. It's just, it's what we all believe. We all believe. And the letter basically said that the case of Jeffrey Epstein was closed. There are no names to release. There was no client list. All the files that we heard about, none of them actually exist, or if they do exist, they have names of victims and minors and juveniles. The videos in question are only of Jeffrey Epstein and these victims, and we're not going to exploit these girls any further. Case closed. Now, as we've discussed quite a bit on this show, that's not really good enough for all of us.
No, no, it's like telling us there's no Area 51. I mean, we don't believe it.
Well, and if there isn't an Area 51, you need to go to extraordinary lengths with full transparency to sort of prove that there is an Area 51, but to prove that there's nothing nefarious or alien activity going on there. Earlier this week, there was a cabinet meeting, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was asked about some of the things that she had said in the past. That whole client list that doesn't exist, she had said that she was looking at it and reviewing it. Now she says, she didn't mean the list, she just meant the files in general. Cut 5A, President Trump, in the middle of the cabinet meeting, when the question was raised, he said this.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking... We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yeah, people are still talking about it. I'm sorry. It's
a pretty big deal.
There's a reason why this story resonates. And for everyone who's conspiracy. Oh, maybe it is. Okay. I'm open to that. I'm open to the idea that this is a conspiracy and there never was any there. This guy was a creep all by himself. He happened to have affiliation with rich, powerful people. They didn't engage in the creepy, disgusting, illegal, immoral, demonic behavior that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell did. It was compartmentalized, and it was only the two of them, and it never bled out to the Bill Gateses and the Bill Clintons of the world. I'm open to believing that, okay? Number one, you've got people in power right now who are telling you that there's nothing there, but for years leading up to this point before they were in power to tell you that, they were leading the charge and saying, hey, there's something there. All right.
And as soon as we get into office, we're going to rip the covers off and we're going to expose it and we're going to release it. Yes, that's what they promised
And we talked about this earlier in the week. One of them was our colleague, Dan Bongino,
yes,
who, we played the audio. Dan Bongino said on this radio station and on his podcast, listen, I have sources who tell me X, Y, and Z. Now he's in a position to know. He's telling me that wasn't true. Then I think he should tell us who his sources were. Mm-hmm. He should tell, because he relayed that to us as an audience. He relayed that to us, and I think that if those people were lying, then we should know who they are, because I say this all the time. When you get an anonymous leak from somebody in the government, there's two stories there. What has been leaked and who leaked it.
Yeah, and their agenda.
And their reason for leaking it. And that second story never gets told. But if people were erroneously, falsely leaking years ago about Jeffrey Epstein being connected to Bill Clinton, and it turns out that's not true, then the person who leaked that should be exposed.
Yeah, that's
And there's
true.
no reason not to expose
and
them.
held
All right.
accountable. Yeah.
So this is why people are like, don't tell us. And there's another reason why the Epstein thing resonates with people, because it is the perfect example, Patrice, of the perception, real or not, that the rich and the powerful and the connected can literally do the worst possible thing you can imagine, which is what Jeffrey Epstein did to these girls. And we've been told many other rich and powerful people from the business world to the political world to even the royal family. We were told that these rich, powerful, connected people engaged in these worse than human thought activities, and they get away with it. They get away with it because they're rich and powerful. And when you get so angry that you vote people in who will finally expose the truth about this stuff, and then they say, nope, there's really nothing there, guys. It never really happened. It feeds into this perception that there are two rules in this world, and if you're rich enough and you're powerful enough, you can literally do the worst possible thing a human can imagine, and you can get away with it. And that rots at a democracy. It rots at a free country like ours that relies on trust in our institutions and in the Department of Justice and in law and order. We want to believe that no matter how rich and powerful you are, if you do something like this, you will be held accountable and you will see justice. So that's why it resonates with people. That's why President Trump, yes, we're still talking about it.
Well, and listen, you at the same time you have Sean Diddy Combs on trial, a rich, powerful person facing accusations of human trafficking and extremely terrible illegal behavior. And now we're seeing after the trial, maybe at best he had some pensions for some kinky stuff, but they were all consenting adults. So sometimes the flip side of the story is that, maybe someone is being cleared when you have public trials, the information is allowed to come out and see the light of day. Let that person be cleared because, hey, maybe you're rich and famous and powerful and you really should be cleared. Well, and there should be opportunity for you for the public to actually see that you're cleared too. So there's the flip side of this.
That's right. That's a great point too. The other side of the story is that the government can levy the worst possible accusations against you without ever having to prove it. And then finally, when you have your day in court, you're exonerated, as it appears in the P. Diddy situation has occurred. All right. So all of that being said, we do have some pretty prominent voices coming out and speaking about this. From Alan Dershowitz, who was himself accused of participating.
He was a Me Too. He was a Me Too victim before Me Too.
Well, he was, and specifically to the Epstein world.
Yes.
So he had something to say about it on our buddy Sean Spicer's show the other day. Also, Victor Davis Hanson had a pretty good theory about why this is not being, whatever information is there is not being revealed. Bill O'Reilly also has an opinion. He says that he spoke with Trump about this a couple of months ago. So we're going to give you all of that. We're not going to let it go. We're not going to forget about it. We're also not going to go hysterical on you. As you know, you never hear from this program promises that people are going to get arrested and that people are going to be sent to Gitmo and that there's going to be a perp walk. We don't know that. All we can tell you here on this show is what's in the news, what we know, and what we think about it. And we're never going to extend ourselves to the point where, well, I have secret information of people in the know, and here's what they're telling me that you won't hear anywhere else. That's ridiculous. And usually when people are telling you that, well, look how it ends up. It's 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
All right. So, and by the way, I know a lot of people are like, well, there's a lot of other things going on that we should be focusing on. I agree. And Lord knows we do. We've got 4 hours every morning, and there's plenty in the news, and we are focusing on it. But this is in the news, too. Here's Alan Dershowitz on Sean Spicer's show. And again, he was falsely, and I want to say falsely accused, because he, as a lawyer, went through the legal process, forced the Justice Department to help clear his name, and he has had his name cleared in this. The person who accused him, one of the Epstein victims who put his name in there, has recanted and said, no, all right, I was wrong about Dershowitz. So here's Dershowitz. Listen.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen, remember, I was accused falsely, and the Epstein. And ultimately, I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights to privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people.
All right. So that's Alan Dershowitz. And he makes
I don't even hug people.
He makes a compelling argument, though, that listen, the reason why these are being suppressed, here's the problem. We're told that there are no names, there are no lists, there are no documents. That's kind of hard to believe. What Dershowitz is saying is, yes, they are, but here's the thing. If your name is in those documents, that doesn't mean that you're guilty. It just means that you've been accused, just like Dershowitz was accused.
Yes.
And so there are people saying, listen, people are going to throw my name out there. The second my name is there, it's over. You're guilty without having a chance to prove your innocence. And the two key witnesses, one of them's dead under mysterious circumstances, and the other one is in jail and is a felon, so you can't trust her. All right, so, and to that end, Bill O'Reilly appeared on News Nation with Chris Cuomo, and he said the same thing. In fact, he said that this is basically what Trump told him. Again, this is hearsay, but here's O'Reilly.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care.
So there's Bill O'Reilly. All right. Meanwhile, Cindy McCain, wife of John McCain, back in 2020, she was asked about this, and here's what she said at the time.
Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
Victor Davis Hanson has an understanding of why people may have been afraid of him. He was on Beck's show yesterday. Here's him.
What do you think this is really about?
I think
I think it's pretty clear now that Epstein had no talent other than blackmail, and he was not a financier. He was not a captain of finance at all. What he did is he invited very powerful people to his island or his New York home, filmed them, and then he bribed them, and he shook them down and said, I'm going to be your quote-unquote financial advisor, and in exchange for that, I'm not going to release all that stuff. And whether, there were some pretty big people. So why isn't it being exposed? Because I think there are people in the establishment. I don't know if they partook in his sick things he was doing, but they feel they have some association with him, and they have they gave him money to invest when there was no reason to hire someone like that.
All right. Much better. So that's a pretty healthy and understandable explanation here about what's going on. And there have been suggestions. In fact, the former Labor Secretary Acosta, who was the DA or the U.S. attorney prosecuting Epstein the first time around when he was prosecuted, he said on the record that he was told that Epstein has connections to intelligence agencies, and so he should be left alone. All right. So all of that is out there. What's the latest now? Reagan Reese, who covers the White House for the Daily Caller, reported yesterday, number one, Pam Bondi did have a tranche of Epstein-related documents on her desk when she said she was looking into the client list, and she hadn't reviewed it yet. Number two, the Epstein Files Phase 1. Those are those binders that so many internet personalities and influencers and Instagram people
received
and were holding up for a photo op. That was a sorry and lamentable display. Yeah, Pam Bondi says that was a mistake, and the administration tried to contain the fallout afterwards. People close to Pam Bondi think that she's taking the fall for lower-level guidance on the situation from the Justice Department. The president still has confidence in Bondi, and furthermore, the Epstein saga is not over as far as the Justice Department is concerned, despite the fact that they put out a memo specifically saying that the case was closed. All right, so you're up to date now, and you've got all of the opinions out there and some pretty good firsthand reports on what happened. Coming up at 7:35, we'll speak with Reagan Reese of the Daily Caller, see if anything else has developed, and I guess that's where it is, Patrice. It's not an easy story to cover. It's not an easy story to discuss. And I know that even talking about it and raising what the latest is, it angers some people. Some people think we don't talk about it enough. Some people think we talk about it too much. You can't please everybody. But I guess that's where and is it the most important thing that I focus on? No. Is it an important issue? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely, and it's still and the only and we'll talk to Tom Fitton as well about this because I know he agrees with me. The only way to make this story go away, if that's what the administration wants, if that's what anybody
wants, transparency.
That's right. Just let
transparency.
us see. Trust us. With every time a White House, an administration, the federal government, every time they get into trouble, it's when they believe that they know better than the American people. We can't give this information to the American people because it would be too damaging to us. Nope. That's as soon as you start telling yourself that.
That kind of cover-up is what is there. It's their undoing.
You lose us.
Hey, yeah, we will. There's going to be more on this. All right, stay with us. We've got Dan Schneider, Vice President of the Free Speech America and the Media Research Center, to give us the latest on the rescissions package that's going to cut NPR and PBS's funding. Oh no, Sesame Street's gone. What will we do? Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37 on this Friday edition of O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here and letting us entertain you, inform you, and educate you, and keep you up to speed on what's going on in this country and in our backyard. Coming up at 7:05, Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. We're going to talk about a lot of things that the government is not telling us right now, despite the new administration, even things related to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump 1 year ago this weekend. Coming up at 7:35, Reagan Reese, Daily Caller, 8:05, Mark Hemingway, Federalist. And that there is Patrice Onwuka. I'm Larry O'Connor. Good morning, Patrice.
It's a happy Friday, and please get your free Slurpee at 7-Eleven. We confirmed.
You just said Slurpee. It's Friday.
Friday. What?
Wow.
Oh my gosh!
You know what?
It's a little vacation.
Welcome back
brain.
from
Sorry.
vacation. I know,
Yes.
a little rusty. We'll shake
Yes.
it down. Joining us right now, friend of the program, Dan Schneider, Vice President of Free Speech America and the Media Research Center. And hopefully next Friday will be a Friday as we are celebrating the defunding of PBS and NPR. The clock is ticking here, Dan Schneider, and we want to get an update from you. From the president's Truth Social post yesterday, where he said, in no uncertain terms, any Republican who doesn't vote for this will not have my endorsement or any backing going forward. That should leave a mark, I should hope. What Republicans are even on the fence about this issue?
Well, we've got Mike Rounds, Dan Sullivan, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, of course, and even Jerry Moran of Kansas is threatening, to go the wrong way on this. But, Larry, Patrice, we knew this day was going to come, that we would get to the end of this whole debate, and NPR and PBS would become desperate. And they are desperate. They have launched this massive social media campaign, funded largely with our tax dollars, and they've hired these high-priced lawyers and lobbyists. And so, of course, they are now going around saying that if Republicans cut this funding, that there's going to be blood on their hands. They're using these incredible scare tactics about millions of people all over the earth who will die, and that if taxpayers are not continued to force to be subsidized NPR and PBS, Americans all over the country are going to lose emergency alerts and access to local news. None of this is true. These are all lies.
Well, Dan, can you debunk a myth about both the amount of federal funding goes to PBS, but also to the local channels for NPR? Is federal funding that big of a piece of their budget, or is it actually much smaller than they're claiming?
Well, look, how NPR and PBS operate, via the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB. And as you both know, CPB is a congressionally chartered organization that just receives appropriations from Congress to give out to NPR and PBS. If this were in the private sector, people would go to prison. It's a kickback scheme. So, NPR and PBS, it's, the paradox here is that they're supposed to be news outlets, but instead they're just misinformation outlets. They'll claim that less than 1% of our funding comes from the federal government. But what happens is that these local stations do get tons of money, but then immediately kick back that money to the home offices here in Washington, D.C. of NPR and PBS, to pay for programming that comes out of Boston and L.A. and New York City, all these other places. This is the point. There is hardly any local news on NPR. It's all this national and international propaganda. There's not a single NPR station in the country that plays more local news than they play news coming from the BBC in London.
Yeah, we know that for a fact right here in our backyard. The local NPR station is a former college radio station commandeered by NPR, and they just do national syndicated content. They've even stopped doing traffic reports and local weather reports. It has nothing to do with local. Dan Schneider is our guest from Media Research Center, as, of course, they've been fighting the good fight for literally decades to try to defund NPR. I saw Ken Burns was rolled out to try to make the case for PBS. This is a guy who's gotten rich off of doing these documentaries for PBS, and when asked about the political bias, Dan, the only thing he could point to was William F. Buckley on Firing Line, and literally it's been 26 years since William F. Buckley hosted an episode of Firing Line on PBS. So but what is it going to take to convince these squishy Republicans to move over here? We're allowed to. We can lose 3 Republicans in the Senate. So who are you targeting? Who is most likely to vote properly on this so that it can get done in the next 6 days?
Well, I just have to add that Tim Graham at the Media Research Center has been fighting this battle for 36 years. In 8 days, we're going to find out whether his life is justified. But what will it take?
Yikes, stakes are high.
There's more to Tim Graham than just this fight. I think Mrs. Graham would attest to. But yes, you know what? If you want to personalize it, you're right. Please validate Tim Graham's existence, senators. Vote the right way.
Yeah, well, Mike Rounds is out there, and I'm quoting, We can't lose small-town radio stations across the country that are literally the only way to get out an emergency message. Okay, I hate when people misuse the word literally. Yeah. Literally, he is simply using the talking points crafted by the NPR lobbyist. That's what's literally true. These small towns, they have news. They have emergency alerts. Every broadcaster, including this one, WMAL, every broadcaster is required by law to have an emergency alert system.
That's right.
There's nothing about NPR PBS that is unique. Local news, it's ridiculous. 95% of content on NPR is national and international news, not local.
So who are the ones that are most likely to vote properly on this that you're concerned about? We want to be able to send emails to them. Who should we contact?
Well, look, I don't think we're going to get Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski, despite the fact that in Alaska, those small communities have already started to get Starlink. But we got to make sure that Mike Rounds, Dan Sullivan, and Jerry Moran are yeses on this. And they are throwing up these straw man arguments about tribes and local communities. We can get Starlink off of Walmart for $350, and that gives not just NPR and PBS, but tens of thousands of options.
They make it sound like people who live in these rural areas in their own state are bumpkins who don't have cell phones and can't figure out how to find the local
internet.
AM station.
Yeah.
I assure you that those people in those states, for those senators, get more news and information from the local talk radio station than they don't tune into NPR. They tune into stations like ours. They're getting their news and information. It's insulting, frankly, to hold them up as these straw men and prop them up as their rationale for just towing the line so that they can be in the good graces of the elites in Manhattan and Washington, D.C. Dan Schneider, please keep us updated. This is
Thank you
this
so
is
much,
it.
Dan.
We're in the fourth quarter. It's the 2-minute warning, and we gotta justify Tim Graham's very existence.
Amen.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good weekend. I was going to say have a good weekend, but I know you're going to be working all weekend along with everyone at MRC, but it'll be worth
Thanks,
it.
Dan.
It's 6:44.
Making sense of your world.
I can't believe this.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
And I am so with you.
Making sense of the news.
Friday on the Derek Hunter Show, Superman hits theaters. Is he an immigrant, as they say, or a refugee? And does it matter? Because the movie will probably stink. We'll talk about it at 3 o'clock on WMAL.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk to Reagan Reese at 7:35. She has another exclusive here about the State Department notifying employees across the board that starting today, soon as today, there's going to be a reorganization that could close 132 offices and a 17% reduction.
Wow.
This, according to a senior official who spoke exclusively to the Daily Caller. This comes just days after the Supreme Court verified that the executive branch does have the right to do this on an 8-1 vote. So we could see huge layoffs now in the State Department.
Here's another quick one here. As part of this move, the State Department ended a program that for decades has given benefits and funds to low-performing diplomats rather than phasing them out of the department. I don't know. That sounds like a good idea. If instead of, giving them a bonus for bad performance, get rid of them.
Yeah. The international affairs budget for the State Department in 95 was about $20 billion. By this year, it had tripled to close to $60 billion. Whenever the budget and the staffing expands in a federal department, nobody ever questions it. It's always celebrated, it's applauded, or it just happens without anybody knowing. But the second somebody comes in and says, hey, maybe we don't need this anymore, then it becomes a scandal. We'll talk to Reagan Reese about it at 7:35. Right now it's 6:53.